Beauty and the Beast, and today we're gonna find out. Books really play a large role in this movie. First, they show Belle's independence and intelligence, features in a princess that we hadn't really seen prior to this film. And not to mention they tie in very nicely with the central theme of the movie. Do not judge a book by its cover. Which is good advice. I mean, what can we really tell about the book Belle is reading from its cover? Blue? Which, quick side note, blue was actually a color specifically selected in this movie to represent good, while the color red was supposed to represent bad. Interestingly, both Gaston and Beast feature red garments and blue eyes when we first meet them. This was done very intentionally so that we weren't sure what the character's development would be. But what's really cool is that throughout the course of the movie, the Beast's clothes actually change from red to purple while he's in transition, and then all the way to blue with his final dance with Belle. That's not really important to today's video, I just thought it was super interesting. What is important, however, is in a movie with such a heavy emphasis on reading, is people wondering what Belle is reading in the beginning of the movie. And I think this question has really caught fire because people think they have it figured out. So in addition to actually seeing the book, we do get a couple of clues from Belle.
Far-off places, daring sword fights, magic spells, a prince in disguise.
Far-off places,
Arabian Nights.
Daring sword fights.
He's got a sword! We've all got swords!
Magic spells, and a prince in disguise.
Say hello to your precious Prince Kali!
Yeah, the story a lot of people think she is reading is none other than Aladdin. Which I will admit does fit incredibly well, especially when you consider Beauty and the Beast came out in 1991 and Aladdin came out in 1992, and the fact that it is a common Disney Easter egg to place a clue for their next movie in their current movie. You could probably also argue that Jasmine figures out who Aladdin really is in approximately chapter 3 of the movie, which is the next clue Belle has given us. But there are a few issues here. First, we get a look at one of the pages in the book that Belle is reading, and it shows a prince, a princess, and a castle. And I have to say they don't exactly look like Aladdin and Jasmine, nor does the castle look like anything from Agrabah, and the text definitely doesn't look Arabic. Although to be fair, I guess it could be a French translation, because I'm sure the market is huge for Arabic books translated into French, read by English-speaking people in the 1700s. Speaking of the text on that page though, it's pretty hard to read even if you pause the movie, but it's not that hard to read if you visit Belle's cottage in Disney World. And read French, which I definitely don't. But last week, Jay was in Disney World and took a picture of the book, and we have access to Google Translate, so problem solved! Right? Well, kind of. I was really convinced that after we translated it, it would be super obvious which book it was. I mean, after all, the other two books she reads in the movie are Jack and the Beanstalk and The Sword and the Stone, both classic books that would be pretty recognizable even with only a single page to go off of. The book she is reading, though, is absolutely not a classic and nearly impossible to find. The text on the page is actually from a book called Le Songe d'une Femme, I think. And when I say I think, I mean, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's definitely from that book. Let me just say that this book is hard to find, but we did manage to track it down online. Except I still can't read it, because I still don't speak French. But here it is in the actual page it is on. If you read French and would like to flip through it, be our guest. So that should be our answer, right? Case closed, except no. Despite the actual text being on the page she is reading, it doesn't match Belle's description. Now, I expected Le Songe d'une Femme to be kind of like an obscure fairy tale, but instead it was kinda a romance novel, if you know what I mean. I mean, on just the one page that we have, we can kind of figure out what's happening. Anna is telling Adelaide that she's feeling guilty towards her husband because she thinks a guy named Paul is beautiful and it makes her blush. And this is on display at Disney? Can you imagine if you actually know French? The point is, the text here doesn't match the picture on the other side of the book. Side note, Gaston is as bad as pictures as he is with reading.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Yes, there are. Right there. I think what we have here is basically an example of the animators wanting to put a picture on one side of the book and essentially meaningless text on the other. I am super not sure how they landed on Le Songe d'une Femme. Not only does it not fit our story, but it's also an anachronism. Meaning that despite this movie taking place in the 1700s, this book wasn't actually even published until 1899. It's like they chose an old book, but just not old enough. But so then, what is this book supposed to be? Well, maybe not exactly Beauty and the Beast, but Beauty and the Beast. I don't think there is an actual beast in the book that she is reading, but she is essentially reading her own story before it happens. Every single one of her clues is there. Far off places? Check. While the Beast Castle isn't a far off place, remember she just moved to town, so where she is the far off place. Daring sword fights? Check. Well, Gaston has more of a dagger than a sword, and can you really call it a sword fight if only one party has a sword? I guess normally you would just call that a stabbing. But you know what? That is what happens. I'm counting it. Magic spells and a prince in disguise? Check and check. Basically the event that sets the entire movie in motion. Ah, but what about not discovering him until chapter 3? That is true, Belle does not discover his true identity until the end of the movie. But she does discover the ripped painting of him early in the movie, and there's definitely a moment of realization there. Plus, Belle and her blue dress totally match the girl in the picture, and the cherry on top is the music. During the opening song, Belle's theme plays during the part of the song where she says,
Here's where she meets Prince Charming.
This matches exactly the music later on when Belle is playing with Beast in the snow and says,
New and a bit alarming.
Because the book that she described earlier is exactly what's happening to her. So if you think about it, she's singing the same song just from a different perspective. Side note, and this is not related at all, but did you know that the dance at the end of the movie is exactly the same dance as Sleeping Beauty? Like, exactly. They actually used the same drawings and just put Belle and Adam in over, and it matches up perfectly. Jay, my question for you and everyone else is, what do you think? Do you agree? Is Belle reading her own story? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the towel section down below. Thank you to the following patrons who support us on Patreon. The whole reason we started our Patreon was to build a team and bring you better content. We can now formally introduce DK, the newest addition to the SCB squad, and the guy who brings you the amazing effects like our Beauty and the Beast and Sleeping Beauty overlay. Be sure to go check out our page where we are adding lots of cool new content all the time. Guys, as always, thanks for watching, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to see some more Beauty and the Beast content from us, you can click right here to find out how it just doesn't make any sense.